So if I want to use the text method, then in the contains, by using contains, here again it is similar to here only, like you have to just copy the left side value. Here it is @attribute, so I have given @attribute. Here it is text, so I am giving text, and some part of text which is unique. Okay, but here you are having equal to, whereas in contains method you will have comma to separate. Okay, here you are doing @attribute equal to value. Here you are doing @attribute comma some part of that unique value. So by using that formula, if I want to write by using that contains method in text, then what can we write for this desktop? If I want to write for this span tag for desktop by using contains method and using text attribute, text as my attribute, then what changes should I make here? Contains for text method we won't have @, that is the difference. Okay, so now I have just given here desk and I have used the contains method. Other than text, I can give the another attributes. If in case of here it is only just class attribute, right? But if there are multiple attributes, then I can use any one of that attribute which is unique and which is lengthy, and I'll take some part of it. So for suppose if I want to write for this button, okay, so if I want to write for this button, I'll just use this area label toggle is there, na? I'll take that. So 2 front slashes button contains @area label equal to tog. అదే చూస్తున్నాను ఎక్కడుందని చూస్తున్నాను. So here T is capital, right? Here in formula it should not be comma. For attribute, we wrote directly value by using equal to, whereas in contains method you will use తెలుగులో చెప్తా between the tags. So in whenever you're using attribute, then you have to use @. If you are using text, then you have to give this circular brackets. You won't have @ before. Text is a method, so that's why whenever it is a method, you will give this round brackets. Okay, so text is a method, so that's why you are using text open and close brackets equal to the inner text. If I am using attribute, then it will be @attribute equal to value. These both are the basic formula. Based on this, we are deriving the remaining ones. So if I want to use contains method in the case of attribute, I'll use @attribute comma instead of equal to. I'm giving comma, and here I'll just give the value which is unique. So in value I can just give val, some part of it which is not repeated anywhere else in the code. So similarly, if I want to use it in the case of text, so it will be contains only. Instead of @attribute, I'm just replacing it with the text. and on the right side I'm just giving the value which is unique. Adayna? Naushin, did you understood? Wait, if you guys do by yourself, then you'll get one understanding. I'll open some website and you guys write for it. For suppose I am trying to write an XPATH for this by again by using text method, complete text method, like the basic formula. Can you tell me what is the formula? నువ్వు ఆగే చెప్పనివే. Nashin, see this part and tell me like the formula, the normal text formula. Whenever we are using text method, then what is the formula? A normal formula for like there are two basic formula, right? One is for by using at attribute and the other one is for text. Can you just give me the syntax of it? So for the first one it will be 2/tag @attribute equal to value. The second formula is 2/tag text equal to inner text. So in this case I am asking you to use this inner text formula, that is 2/tag text equal to inner text. By using that formula you have to just apply it over here. So what is the tag name here? No, the text is the inner text. Inner text means the text which is present between open and closing braces. So here the anchor tag started here and it got ended here, and this is the closing. So in between this, here you are having the text. Tag is a yes. So so in this case it is by again, so we are just going by again. But now I don't want to use entire word like by again, I just want to use again. Contains of text. Now in by again I don't want to give entire one, so I'll just give again. I'll just remove the by. And I have to close the round braces. So even then also you will get one of one only. Now similarly, like similar to this text method only, but now similar to this contains method only. Now I don't want to use the text method, but I want to use some other attribute, which, and by using contains, like I want to use only some part of it. Based on this, okay, this is like, if you see, it is including some numbers, so nav cs is common, so I won't give this number. So I'll just this link, if you see in this website there are so many links, no? So I'll give that, but then also what will happen, it is not unique, the value will be repeated. So if you see here again, the data CSA C type link, that is equal to link only for another href. So even though if I write it, I won't get it as unique, so I cannot use the values which are like this. This slot ID is there, na? So if you see that slot ID, for this it is nav cs cell T3 is there, and for the other element it is nav cs5. So whenever there is numbers included, the values will be changing. Whenever you refresh the page, it will become 6 and this will become 5 and like that. The values are not unique. So in those cases also you cannot directly use that value, because navcs is common everywhere. Navcs, even though if I use contains method and if I ignore the numbers and if I give navcs, then also I won't get unique value, because that same XPath is applicable to this element, this element, this element and this element, because everything is having navcs in it. So I have to try to check where is the difference between these two. Okay, now if I see, there is one attribute called as ref in it. Ref hyphen is there, right? So the value which is there in ref hyphen, here it is saying nav cs buy again, and in the next link it is saying nav cs pets, and for the next it is saying nav cs toys. So now by seeing these three, I can understand that this buy last part is unique, the reference part is unique. Did you guys understood? In this href attribute, if you compare it with the remaining ones, only in this ref attribute the last part is being unique. It is different for everyone, it is unique value. So now I have to use this href as my attribute. So contains, instead of here I have to use attribute, so @href, because href is an attribute, that's why I'm using @ comma. Now I have to give the value which is unique. So here the value which is unique is by space again. I think there is one underscore in it. @a contains @href. I did not cross the line. So it is having one underscore here, so that's why I'm giving by underscore again. Instead of giving this entire href value, I'm just giving the value which is unique here. Did you understood what I did? Now can you tell me for this for this span, tell me text, then we will go for attribute. So 2 front slashes span. Yeah. So now if you see, this is the username. So if I have logged in as Padmaja, it will be like Padmaja. Tomorrow if you log in, the name will be changed. So if I give entire hello Padmaja, my code will become invalid. My locator will say no such element exception, because it is not able to find the word hello Padmaja. So I have to identify which part is unique. The hello is always constant. This will be changing. So for contains hello. Okay, now we got one of one. Now for the same code, if you want to use contains for id attribute, yeah, for id only tell me. So we have to write @id not equal to comma. Whenever it is contains, you won't have equal to. So account list. Okay, so now you got 1 of 1. So like that you have to analyze that code and try to identify which part is not changing and which part is unique. It should be not changing as well as unique. ప్రౌలి నీకు అర్థమైంది, నువ్వు ఒకటి చెప్తావా? అర్థమైంది, నీకు ఇంపార్టెంట్ ఇదే, నువ్వు ఇది రాయగలగాలి. అంతే. సి ఎందుకంటే ఫర్ సపోజ్ ఇఫ్ ఐఎమ్ రైటింగ్ 2 ఫ్రంట్ స్లాషెస్ A and I'm just using data CSS e type equal to link, then it will get all these links. So in that case I cannot use the regular formula. So then I have to go for my next options. So in my next options also this href attribute is very long, it's too long. So instead of giving that entire href, I just want to use some part of it in my code because I don't want my XPath to look too big, too confusing. So in that case what I did, I went to contains method. In contains also I want to identify the value which is unique and which is not changing. Okay, ఇప్పుడు ఈ బుక్స్ if it is containing numbers, it is the probability is like 90%, the numbers will change. Okay. Part of it. Ante. Now like even after using contains method, even after using like all the methods, you are not able to find a unique XPath. You are not getting 1 of 1. So in those situations you will go for the XPath access methods. So yesterday we have seen that parent child thing, right? Ancestor, descendant. I have shown you one tree. Do you guys remember that? So yeah. So for that you will just have the normal formula first. Yes, so first part will be common only. It can be either at attribute equal to value or text equal to inner text, any XPath. So first one will be common, and after writing the first part then you have to use one front slash, and here you have to specify the relation between the other tag. So if it is my parent, I'll give my parent double colons, 2 times I have to give the colon, and I have to give the child tag, like the child tag name, parent tag name in this case. So just remember this as tag. So here this is the value of my child, and I'm saying that from my child position I'm trying to identify my parent. And if I want to identify my child, the formula will be same, just replace that parent with child. And if I want to write it for my sibling who is younger to me, like in the code perspective, which is below the code, below the tag, then we have to use following sibling. And if it is above the point, above the tag, then we have to use preceding sibling. And if I want to identify by I'm not having any direct relationship, but I just want to find by the elements which are below my code. Like for suppose if there is one tag, this anchor, and there is no relation between this anchor and some other div tag, some other div tag which is here. So if I want to point the relationship between this anchor to this div, then I can use the following keyword. Because it is below me, so I'll use the following keyword. So you go for following when there is no proper relation between those elements. These all, by practice you will understand like when to use which one, which formula is suitable. That one you will gain it only through experience. So if I want to write between the element which is above but which is not having any direct connection with me, then I'll use the preceding keyword. And if I want to if there is no you can think them as your neighbors. Your neighbors are not directly related to you, but they're just present in the same street. So similarly for this anchor tag, this anchor tag is having relation with this div, with this div, with this div, with this div, but it is not related to the div which is above your grandparents. So these all are at the same level, but this div, this particular anchor tag is not related to here. It is related only to this div tag. But then also if I want to point a relationship between this anchor tag with the div which is not directly related to me, then I have to use the for preceding keyword because it is above my place. So here this anchor tag is there and this div is above it, so we will use preceding. If you want to know like how is the relation, you can just follow these arrow keys. Whichever arrow keys are opened, those will have the direct connection. So here this anchor tag, this div tag is connected to this anchor. So anchor, div, this is another div which is its parent, and this is another div. Because these both are at same level, these both are sisters. So this particular anchor tag is directly related only to here. It is not related to its grandparent's sister. Did you understood? While pointing out the pointing the relation as ancestor, like for suppose if I want to use ancestors keyword, so what all comes under my ancestor? This div tag, and this div tag only, and this div tag, which are showing pointed towards downward arrow. Those are only the tag names which are related to you. This div, even though it is your cousin, but it is not directly related, so it can't become your ancestor, direct ancestor. Okay, so whenever you use ancestor keyword, it will return all the hierarchy levels, like all the tags which are present in your hierarchy. So in general we won't use this ancestor or descendant much. We will use only following sibling, preceding sibling, following sibling, parent to child. So this descendant we won't use in real time. Okay, so if for suppose this tag is not unique, here also you can just add at attribute equal to value. Okay, so the formula can be either tag or tag at attribute equal to value. This is applicable to all the access methods. No. You have to remember this as this is my current node, like for the value from which I have started writing my relation, and the other one will have the related value. So in this case, yes. So now if you are the mother and if you want to talk about your child, so first you'll identify yourself and then you'll speak about your child. You want to travel, yeah. So this is your current node and this is your target node. No, this is no. This is also to identify the elements only, like how ID, name, CSS selector are there. XPath is also same only, but to handle dynamic elements like when the values are changing or when you're not able to identify by using, you're not getting that one of one, you are not getting that unique value, then you'll try these different formula. So now you are having 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, even though if you're using contains, దీనికి వెళ్ళాలి. And in the cases of the click intercepted exception that we got yesterday, because it was not able to click on that radio button because the size is small. So what it tried to do yesterday, it tried to click on the small place. So while it is clicking, it got some exception called as click intercepted exception. So what I did, instead of clicking in this small place, I asked it to click on this yes. So in order to get the value of this yes, I have written an XPath in such a way that after this no radio, there is one sibling which is holding the label value. So if you inspect this code, yes, now you can see that this input and this label both are at the same height. Okay, if when I'm trying to perform a click operation on input directly, I'm getting this click intercepted exception. So now what I did, instead of directly clicking on the link, I want to click on the text. So the label tag is having the text yes. So I want to perform a click operation here. But in order to write the XPath for this label, there is no ID attribute to write. There is no name. I am having only class and I know that the class value is not unique. So in this case, if I want to write the XPath for this label, I cannot use contains method. I cannot use @attribute equal to value. So in that situations, what I have to do, I have to go for XPath access methods. So in XPath access methods, what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to identify this element uniquely by using some other element. So now I have used this input tag, which is unique and which is also having ID. So first I have written the XPath for this input tag, and then I have pointed out its relation to this label. So what is the relation between input and label? Can you guys identify what is the difference, like relationship? Sibling, because those both are at same level. So, and which sibling? Is it a preceding sibling or following sibling for input? From the context of input, the label is a following sibling. So I have written an XPath saying that to // input at ID equal to no radio or yes radio, on which button I wanted to click, and I have used the following sibling relation and I have given the tag name. ఓ అవునా, నువ్వు ఎక్కడ దాకా విన్నావే? అంతేలే, అంతే అడిగా. సో ఫర్ దిస్ ఇన్పుట్, దిస్ లేబుల్ is the following sibling because it is below the input. అంతే. So I have written the text path and I have performed the click operation. So when I did this, I did not face the click intercepted exception because now it is trying to click on a larger space. Okay, so you'll go for dynamic XPaths when you are not able to identify a unique XPath. So I am not able to write an XPath by using all the formula that I have for this label tag. So in that cases, I have went for XPath access method where I have directed a relation to this label with the help of a stable element. I already know that this ID is unique and it is not changing. So I have pointed out the relation between these both. if you know how to write the locators, then like half part of the code work is done. If you write a good XPath, your code won't fail much. Now I want you guys to try it for checkbox, like the same is selected, is enabled and is displayed methods. In the case of checkbox, you have to just write the XPaths by your own for this demoqa.com. Okay, for this demo QA, just go to this checkbox URL. I'll give you the URL. Try to click on this home, and then try to click on this this aroma, and then verify, like use that is enabled, is displayed and is selected, and check whether these buttons are clicked or not, selected or not. Okay, can you guys do that? Try. If you guys don't get the answer, then I'll tell you the answer tomorrow how to do that. And I want to tell you about weights. I'll say some theory. So whenever you are trying to write this code, and whenever you are using this driver.find element, it will wait only for a certain amount of time, like it won't wait for a longer time until it finds this element. So in those cases, sometimes your internet might be slow, or sometimes the XPath is, the elements are loading slowly from the server side. So in those cases, if you get the exception, it is not reliable, right? Every time your code gets failed. So in order to handle and to give some extra time for the element to be located, you are having waits. So this is also called as like synchronization. So synchronization means you are just trying to make the code wait for some time even before throwing that exception. So the you have seen that no such element exception, right? So if I give some invalid XPath which is not present in the code, then I'll get the exception faster. So we'll just stay on. So once the page is completely loaded, then only the next part of the code will get executed. The driver.get method will wait until all the elements are loaded. So once the element like the page is maximized, then it will try to get the next part. So here it has performed this driver.find element and did not find that element, so it just gave that no such element exception. But if it is a valid XPath, but just the page has been the elements are not loaded yet from the server side, or if there was some other issue because of which the elements are not loaded, then in order to handle those situations, you will use three kinds of weights in Selenium, that is implicit wait, explicit wait and fluent wait. So let us give some invalid one only. Now you have seen that this exception has occurred very faster, like the code has stopped. Now if I want to add some weight to it, then I have to use driver dot manage dot timeouts dot implicitly wait. So the implicitly wait command will be applied to the rest of the code, like to all the elements. Whenever you are using driver.find element, for every driver.find element, it will wait until that element is visible. If that for example, I have given here 50 seconds, and if at the 20th second if I found that element, it will just go to the next step. It doesn't wait for the next 30 seconds. if it is found in the first 5 seconds, then also it will go to the next step. But if that element is not found, then it will wait for complete 50 seconds, and then only it will go for this no such element exception. So here I can define my time unit. So for how much time I want this element, this implicit wait to be applied. So I can give for days, hours, microseconds, milliseconds. So in generally we go for seconds. So now I am saying that whenever the text path is invalid, whenever you are not able to find that element, before throwing that exception, just wait for 50 seconds to make sure that the element is loaded completely. So now if I run the code again, this time I won't get that exception faster, it will wait for that 50 seconds. చెప్తాను ఇది జరిగిందో చెప్తా. అవుతుంది, నేను ఆ గదిలోకి వెళ్తాలే. Now if you see, still we did not get that exception. Before we got that exception as soon as we came over here. Now what will happen? It will just wait for 50 seconds. కట్టేసామా. ఇంప్లిసిట్ వెయిట్ అంటే ప్రతిదానికి అప్లై అవుద్ది. సో ఇప్పుడు నేను ఈ పేజ్లో ఒక 10 ఎలిమెంట్స్కి రాశాను అనుకో XPATH, ప్రతి 10 ఎలిమెంట్స్ ముందు ఇంప్లిసిట్ వెయిట్ అప్లై అవుతుంది అనమాట. సో నౌ ఆఫ్టర్ 50 seconds యూ గాట్ దిస్ నో సచ్ ఎలిమెంట్ ఎక్సెప్షన్. నీకేమర్థమైంది చెప్పు ప్రవీ, నేను అప్పుడు చెప్తా. Error throws. So this error will occur only after this 50 seconds because I have asked it to wait. So I am just asking it to not to execute those next steps. So if this element is not found, first wait for 50 seconds. Even after 50 seconds you are not finding it, then just throw that exception and stop executing the code. So ante, if that element is visible, all the elements are visible, then this 50 seconds wait won't be there. It will occur only if that element is not visible. If the selenium is not able to detect that element, then it will wait for some time and again it will check. So after 50 seconds it will again check for that element if that is visible or not. If it is visible, then it will take it. It won't throw the exception. So now to show you that example, I can't do it dynamically, like it should occur. So when it occurs, then only I can show you. That's why I have given some invalid XPath so that that element is not visible. In real times, even though you give valid XPath, like you'll get 1 of 1 while you are writing the XPath, then also sometimes you will get no such element exception. So whenever you are facing that no such element exception, even after your XPath is valid, even after your locator is valid, then you have to use weights concepts. Okay, so generally in project what will happen, by default every project will have this implicitly wait. Generally it will be like 30 seconds or 10 seconds based on the project, the value will be changing. But this until here, like WebDriver manager.chromedriver.setup, WebDriver driver equal new Chrome driver, driver.get, maximize, and this implicit wait. These 5 statements are common for any project, and it is common in every line of code, like in every class that we write. So whenever you want to hit the browser, you have to create the object for it, and if you want to hit the URL, you have to use the get method, and after coming to the get, you need to maximize the window, and you also need to apply the wait so that the code is not failing because of net issues or server issues. Okay, this one line of code will apply to this driver.find element as well as this driver.find element, and even if there are 10 other elements, for every element in the code the implicitly wait will be applied. Okay, whereas there is one more thing called as explicitly wait. So explicitly wait means it is applied only to a specific web element. మూడు ఇంకోటి ఉంటుంది ఫ్లూయెంట్ వెయిట్. By combining implicitly wait, explicitly wait, and fluent wait, sometimes they'll ask you like what are the different types of weights in Selenium, or in some interview they'll ask how do you achieve synchronization in Selenium. So for both the answer is you'll use the weights, and there are 3 different types of weights. One is implicit wait, explicit wait, and the fluent wait. So implicit wait will be applied to all the web elements in the code, whereas explicit wait will be applied only to a specific element. So the implicit element will have only one line of code, that is driver.manage.timeouts.implicitly wait time comma time unit. Okay, whereas for explicitly wait, you have to create the object for WebDriver wait class. WebDriver wait equal to new WebDriver wait, and here you have to pass driver comma, this is by default in seconds, so driver comma time, for how much time it needs to wait. And here you will specify, it will have one method called as, so this WebDriver wait class is having one method called as until. So in order to use that until method which is present in this WebDriver wait class, how should I call that method? There is one until method, it seems, which is present in WebDriver wait class. So in Java, what we will do, if I want to call a method which is present in a class, how can I call that method? After creating the object, if I want to use this particular method, I have to take the help of this variable. So here I have to write wait.until. Okay, so I'll write here in the code. For example, there is this web element is stored in radio button variable. So now in order to apply WebDriver wait, like explicit wait, to this particular element, I have to first create the object for the WebDriver wait class. Wait equal to new WebDriver wait, and here I have to pass driver comma the time for how much seconds it should wait, driver comma 30. So I have to import this. So I am not getting it by default, so I have to copy the import statement. So now what I am trying to do is, I'll just paste this and I'll just give star, so that it will be giving me all the other methods which are present in that UI. Okay, so now my error is gone. So it is WebDriver wait equal to new WebDriver wait, and now I have to use until method which is present in this WebDriver wait class. So that's why I have to use this variable wait. So wait dot until, so I have to specify my expected condition. So there is one more class called as expected conditions dot. So what is my expected condition? My expected condition is this particular element to be visible. So I want this radio button to be visible. Radio button expected conditions dot element to be visible. Here you can see all the methods which are present in this expected conditions class. From here I have to select the condition which is related to my web element. So here if I want that element to be visible, then I have to use visibility of the element. And if I want that element to be enabled or if it should be clickable, then I can use element to be clickable. So in my case it is visibility of that element. So here I am using visibility of element located, and inside this I have to write by dot XPATH, and I have to specify the XPATH. So now what will happen? The wait will be applied only to this particular element for which I have written the XPath. It won't wait for all the remaining elements in the code. So for which web element we have applied our expected condition, only to that particular web element it will wait for that particular duration of time. Okay. Implicit wait, what it will do, it will apply for every find element which is present in the code, whereas explicit wait will be applied only to a specific web element for which we are applying our wait condition. So for which element I have applied my expected conditions, to only to that particular web element it will wait for the time duration that I have given, that too if that element is not visible. So it is based on this condition. So if I am writing for the element to be clickable, for example in this no radio, if I just give this XPath as no radio, and this no radio button is not clickable, right? Here in this code, this no radio button is not clickable. It is not in a clickable state. So if I am changing my expected conditions, in such a way that my expected condition is that element to be clickable. So just press the dot, type some amount element and just check these methods. So here there is one method called as element to be clickable, and here directly I can give that radio button because in this expected conditions dot. So whenever I am hovering the mouse, if you guys just zoom the screen and see. So if we just zoom the screen and see, so if I just give this dot, you can see all the methods which are present in this expected conditions class. So based on the condition that I want to apply, I have to select that particular method. So my condition here is that I want that element to be clickable, but this element is not clickable, so that's why we will get some exception because I cannot click on this no, but I'm just giving that my expected condition that this element to be clickable. So in that situation what will happen, it will wait for that particular duration of time and it will check whether this element will get enabled after some time or not, and even after the time that I have given, even after that if this element is not clickable, then it will throw me timeout exception. So the WebDriver wait will throw timeout exception, whereas implicitly wait will throw no such element exception, that we will see now. Did you guys understood even this much? I'll I'll just run this and I'll tell you. For the second time you'll understand. You don't need to like Bhaktify or just remember all this syntax today only. Just try to understand the difference. Like implicit wait means it will be applied to all the find element methods. For it will be applied to this radio button, and it will also be applied to this label tag. And if there are some other elements, if I have written in my code, so it will before every element, if that element is not visible, soon after that element is not visible, this implicitly wait will be called, and it will wait for this particular duration. And even after that duration, if that element is still not visible, it is not able to find that element, then it will just throw no such element exception. Okay, if that element is visible after 10 seconds, then it doesn't wait for the remaining 20 seconds. It will just continue with the rest of the code. Whereas the explicit wait will be applied only to that element for which you are putting your condition. So here I am putting the condition to this, only to this radio button. So this WebDriver wait will not be applicable to this label tag. To this label XPATH, it doesn't work. It will work only for this radio button tag only. Radio button element only. No, breakpoint is like whenever there is an issue in your code, if you want to identify whether breakpoints are, like if you just double click here, this is called as one breakpoint. So what will happen? It will try to execute through this part of the code, and it will check like whether the code got executed till here or not. There will be some dead code which won't get executed. So in order to identify that, and in order to identify the mistake in your code, you will try to debug the code. So I'll teach you debug later. So during that debugging part, you'll use these breakpoints and all. This is just for these synchronization things is just to handle your internet speed, browser speed, system speed. Okay, in some systems the speed will be very high, so the execution will be very fast, but in some systems the execution will be slow. But in every place, if your code have to work, then you have to use the synchronization. So by default you will always use the implicitly wait, and this will be applied to all the rest of the code. Whereas this explicit wait you will apply only to a particular element. So in real time, what will happen in your projects? First you will give this implicitly wait, and you'll just execute the code. Even after giving implicitly wait, still you are facing some no such element exception. Then what you will do, you'll try to identify the scenario. Why is it failing? Why that element is not visible? So is it only this particular element that is taking more time to load, or is this element being enabled after a few seconds after the page loading? So based on those conditions, you will try to put that expected condition. So for suppose in real time, here this element is disabled forever, but in real time what will happen? If you select one in any form, if you select the first option, then the remaining part of that document might get enabled. You can type in that, or you can click on that in any of the radio button. So in those cases, what will happen? After you perform a certain action, then only the rest of the part of the code will get enabled. In real times, did you use any application like that? Like if you click on one particular point, then only you will be able to select the next point. Like yeah. So then when as soon as you select the country, in order to display the states which are present in that country, there will have some little amount of time that the server will take in order to get and fetch those drop down elements. It is milliseconds, but there is some seconds that it will wait. Okay, so while running your script, if it is not even able to catch, like your system is executing too fast that it is not able to detect that fraction of seconds, and you are getting no such element because the state drop down is not displayed. As soon as you select the country, it is taking like 3 seconds of time. After you select your country, to display that states drop down, if that particular website is taking 3 seconds of time, then what you can do? you have to use this explicitly weight condition, and you have to use element to be visible. Your expected condition should be element to be visible, because that element is taking some time. So here I'll give my WebDriver wait as 3 seconds. So because after 3 seconds I know that the element is visible, so I'm asking it to wait for 3 seconds and then perform the click action. So in that case my exceptions, I won't face any exception rate because the wait condition is satisfied. So the element will become enabled and I'll be able to see all the elements, and then I can perform the click or selection operations. Okay, for now just remember that implicit wait is applied to all elements, whereas in explicit wait you will just give one particular condition. Okay. So fluent wait is much difficult, so that we won't use much in our real time also. I'll teach you that later, but for today just remember the difference between implicit and explicit waits. So implicit means it will be applied to all, whereas explicit wait is applied to only a specific element. So I'll just run this code once. So here I have given no radio, no radio. So this code is applied to the no radio button. So what is happening here? I have hit the browser, I have opened it, I have applied the implicit wait. So let me comment this implicit wait for a few seconds. So I have written the XPATH for the no radio button, and I want to check whether that element is in a clickable state or not. I want to verify whether that no radio is clickable or not. So in real, I'm just assuming that after 30 seconds this button will become clickable. That no radio disabled button will become enabled. I'm just assuming it. So based on my assumption, what I thought, I'll just give 30 seconds and I'll check like if that element is clickable or not. Okay. So now what will happen, even after 30 seconds that won't get enabled because that is the application that they have designed. So then in that cases what will happen, it will wait for 30 seconds and then it will throw you timeout exception. So the difference between implicit and explicit is, if you are using implicitly wait, you will get no such element exception. Whereas if you are applying explicit wait, you will get timeout exception. Let me run this code, then you will see that you will get the timeout exception. So remember that only after maximizing the page, then only your next part of the code is getting started to execute. So now the page is loaded. So now it will wait for 30 seconds and it is trying to verify whether this element is in a clickable condition. That is, it is enabled or not. So now here Selenium is trying to check like whether this element is changing its state to enabled status. See, even after 30 seconds that won't get changed. So that's why you will get this timeout exception. Okay. So if anyone asks you like what is the difference between implicit and explicit wait, you can say this difference as well. So if you are trying to give implicit wait and if the element is not visible, even after giving implicit wait, if that element is not visible, so even after applying wait, if the element is not visible, we will get no such element exception. Whereas in case of explicit wait, we get timeout exception. So here it is not only for the visibility of the element but based on our expected condition. So I can say that even after applying the wait, if the element is not satisfying the expected condition, that we gave, then we will get timeout exception. Okay, so whatever you write within this expected conditions class, which method you are calling, so if that particular method is not satisfied, then only you will get timeout exception. Listen to the class one more time and try to do this. Just give some more time here, like 50 seconds or 1 minute, and then you will get the difference. You'll try to know by yourself. Okay. Hello. Hello. Probably నా మాట వినిపిస్తుంది. I lost my connection, I guess. Till where did you guys heard me? I was timeout exception, until timeout exception. Oh no. Can you hear me now? Is it still breaking? Hello. ఇప్పుడు బాగానే ఉంది.
ఇప్పుడు బాగానే ఉంది.
Okay. So I was just saying that try to do this by your own. Just increase this wait time and do the same code. Then you'll come to know. I'll give the notes today and I'll just upload the yesterday's class and today's class, and I'll send you the links. Just I want you guys to do it for checkboxes. It's the same code, just you have to replace the XPATH for the checkboxes. And the second task is just to give this wait conditions and try to see like whether it is waiting for that particular duration or not. If you once start putting the writing the code, then only you'll understand Selenium, or else like it will be very difficult for us. Okay. I'll give one PDF today, like it's just like beginner's tutorial. It will have everything which is related to Selenium. So try to go through that PDF as well whenever you guys get time. It will have the installation part, everything, in which includes the screenshots as well. Just go through that. Okay, I'll send that soon. So we'll connect tomorrow then.
Okay.